So Sam Hooper of the Institute for Justice, and I have good news today on housing in Texas. So today in the Texas House, House Bill 24 passed by quite a wide margin, actually. This bill reforms what's commonly known in Texas as the tyrant's veto, and that's a law that's currently on the books that says that if a small minority, just 20% of adjoining neighbors or landowners to a plot of land that wants to be upzoned object, then they can force a requirement that a supermajority, 3/4 of the city council, are then needed to override that objection and upzone the land to enable more housing to be built. The actual technicalities of the bill get kind of confusing because you're dealing a lot with thresholds and percentages, but basically at the moment it's very easy for a small number of people to object to an upzoning. That might be to create more missing middle housing, duplexes, townhomes, small apartment buildings and so on. Just 20% of people can object and then trigger that supermajority requirement. And then that means that you can only overcome that objection of the small minority by having a supermajority on the city council of very pro-housing people, which just isn't possible in a lot of places. Some places like Austin now does have that supermajority of very pro-housing city council members, which is great, but a lot of places don't. And so just by having that low threshold at 20%, that's been a way for NIMBYs, people who are generally against property rights, against new housing, to stop all kind of development. And it's unfortunately been very effective and has been a big driver of the housing crisis in Texas. So this is a really good bill. It changes those percentages and thresholds and says now if people want to object to an upzoning, you need 60% of local people to object to that rezoning. So you can't have that tyranny of the minority anymore. So you need more than a majority of people to object. And then when it gets kicked over to the city council, if you do get a valid protest petition that's voted for by more than half the local landowners, then you just need a bare majority of the council to override that. So you don't have that ludicrously high standard where you need a supermajority of pro-housing people on the council to pass it. So this is a really good bill. It deals in technicalities and percentages and has a lot of dry language, and a lot of housing bills that make the most difference are like that, right? They're not intuitively understandable. They're not exciting necessarily. They don't use flowery language and speak in grandiloquent terms about property rights and how things are good for the economy, good for housing, good for families, good for property rights. But just because it's in dry language doesn't mean it's not important. And this is a really good bill. House Bill 24 is now, a similar bill has passed on the Senate side as well. So we're very hopeful that this will be signed by the governor and become law. There's an exciting day for housing in Texas. There's still a lot of other bills to go though. So keep watching. I'll keep you updated on the others. In the meantime, this is Sam Hooper of the Institute for Justice.